Hello everyone and a very warm welcome back to my channel. So after a long time I am here with another video. There have been certain issues, so I was unable to make the video earlier, but now I'll try my best to be more regular. Okay, so in today's video we'll be talking about Union Executive, that is coming under part 5 of the Indian Constitution. So I'm beginning with the part 5 currently. What are the leftover articles will be covered in a separate video. So we'll be starting up with the part 5, and in this part we are studying about the Union Executive. Okay, and the first in the Union Executive we'll be studying about parliamentary government. Okay, so before starting the video I would just like to tell you that this is our channel if you are completely new to this. So I'm Avan, and this is my YouTube channel Avan Anjan. Here we are basically discussing the various topic of UPSC preparation, which are completely free for all of you, for all of the people who watch this. The only thing I want from you guys is to just subscribe to this channel, and we'll be having all the in-depth discussions related to the various topics, and it would be equal to any of the material or any of the coaching that is provided to you through any coaching institute. This is for those people who could not afford, or if they wanted to have more clarity in the topic. So you can of course visit this YouTube channel. This is open for you all the time. So this is completely free. Just go guys and just subscribe to this channel to give me more motivation to make the videos. Okay, so you can also share it with your friends, and if you understood well then you can leave a like so that I could know that yes, you guys are able to grasp what I'm speaking. So now beginning with our topic without any further delay. So now I'll begin with the parliamentary. I hope that the color is visible. If it is not, so I'll just change it. Parliamentary government. Okay, so we are going to discuss about the parliamentary government within the Indian polity. So here basically under the parliamentary government, where is this model taken from? The model of parliamentary form of government has been taken up from the Westminster model. Okay, so Westminster model of course we are from United Kingdoms. Okay, so we have taken this from United Kingdoms. So we are having, under the parliamentary form of government, we are having two different working positions. First one is of President of India, President, and the second is Prime Minister. We all have studied this since we were kids, so we all know this. A very basic understanding that we have two working organs, that is the President and the Prime Minister. So when we talk about the President, so President is basically a ceremonial or a nominal head. Okay, a ceremonial head, and they are called as de jure, DEJURE. They are called as de jure head. Okay, de jure means jure means jurisdiction. Okay, so according to jurisdiction they are the head of the state, whereas according, in reality, not in the judicial terms, in the reality, de facto head is Prime Minister. Here the facto represents in fact. FACTO. Sorry for my mouse. There are some. Okay, so facto here means fact. That means the real head is Prime Minister. Okay, in fact, the head is the Prime Minister. Okay, so this is very clear. So we can say that in accordance to the law or the legality, the President is the head of state, but in actuality he is just a ceremonial head, whereas Prime Minister is the real head of real head, we can say, and President is called as head of state. Okay, so President is basically the head of state, whereas Prime Minister is the head of government, head of the government which is in union. Okay, so we'll be having very detailed discussion. So first of all, I will take up the president for my discussion topic. Let's keep it yellow. Okay, so I'm starting up with the president. So I hope that we'll be able to complete president in this. Otherwise, I have to make another video because now we are going to begin the in-depth discussion. Okay, so basically the position of president is constitutional and it is more of a ceremonial nature rather than in reality. So president, okay, I'm starting up with president. So basically I would like to tell you about two articles. Okay, so first of all, the very basic one, article number 52. Now what does article 52 states? It states that there shall be a president of India. A means one. Okay, so it is very clear that the country could not have more than one president. Okay, so there shall be a president of India. This is what the article 52 says. Okay, now acha, if there is a case of vacancy, okay, so if there is a sudden vacancy that is created in the office of president, then the role of vice president comes. Okay, I hope these things are clear. So the role of vice president would then become important. Okay, so only if there is a sudden vacancy in the office of president. Okay, now we'll be studying about all of that. So if I'll tell you the hierarchy. Okay, if the vacancy in the office of president is created, so it is going to be took over by whom? The vice president. If say vice president for some reason is not able to take, yeah, if there is like no at that point of time there is a crisis of even the presence of a vice president, because there is a vacancy in the office of vice president also, then in that case who would be taking up the role of president? That is Chief Justice of India. He's not going to take up the role of vice president, but rather he's going to take up the role of president, because the role of the president is more important. First of all, we need the president's office um to be occupied, and then only we'll think about the vice president. Okay, so therefore the CGI, that is Chief Justice of India, would act as a acting president. Okay, so he would be called as, he or she would be called as acting president in the case of sudden vacancy where there is absence of or even the vice president. Okay, now this is um, what does the article 52 says. And I'll tell you another fun fact. If CGI is also not able to take, if there is a vacancy in CGI office also, these are like very rare cases. Okay, so if there is such a scenario, then then there is a senior most judge of the senior most judge of where? Of Supreme Court. Okay, so you have to be very careful. It is not of High Court but of Supreme Court. Okay, then this person would act as CJI. Okay, and CJI would in turn act as the acting president. Okay, so there would be a role taken up by as CJI by the senior most judge of the Supreme Court, and that would further take up the role of the acting president. Okay, so I hope this much is clear to you all. If it is, then we'll move forward. Now I've discussed about something about article 52. Now let me take up the article 53. So article 53 is also very important. Okay, so this declares, very important article, president. If you guys, I recommend you guys to buy a book that is called as PM Bakshi. This is a book, and the name of the book by PM Bakshi is called as Constitution of India. Constitution of India. Okay, so yeah, you can just buy this book, because this book is going to give you all the constitutional articles. Okay, so all the constitutional articles as stated in the constitution is mentioned there, so you can use that as a reference, like a dictionary we use. Okay, so it can be used as a dictionary of articles, and you can take a look at any time when you feel You have to you have to go get to know about certain articles. That is a great book for that. Okay, so now begin let's begin with the president. Okay, so article 53 states that the president is the head of state. The president is the head of state. STAT. Okay, so president is the head of, not state. Yeah, he is the head of state also, but what basically is said in like properly, which is said very like you can say, it is mentioned very clearly in article 53, is that he is the head of union. Head of union. Sorry for my mouse today. There is, I don't know, head of union. Okay, so this is who is the president. President is the head of union according to article number 53. Okay, and all the executive powers of the union is vested within the president of India. So as you all know that all the bill needs the assent of president, okay, before converting it into a law. Okay, so this should be very clear. Now also article 53 states that there can be two options. Okay, either the president could exercise the power on his own. Okay, his powers on his own, or either he can take the help of some what do we like some subordinate officers. Okay, so that is also a provision. So everyone is subordinate to president of India. It is the highest position of dignity. Okay, so subordinate, through subordinate or through his own, he can practice his powers. Okay, so if a certain analysis of article 53 is to be done, so I would like to tell you that if article 53 is read alone in a isolation by a person, so that person would understand the role of president in a very limited manner. Okay, so the person would consider that president is actually the one who is taking all the decisions, and he is the head of union, he's taking all the positions. So this would be a very wrong image, or very wrong image about the role of president in India. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to read Article 74 along with Article 53. So Article 53 should always be read along with Article number 74. Okay, so you need to take this into consideration. So now what is Article 74? Only Article 74, if you read it along with 53, then only you can get the real, you can get the real picture of the role of president. Okay, so Article 74, it clearly states that there shall be a council of ministers, and that council of ministers function would be to aid and advise whom? To aid and advise whom? The president of India. So this should be well known. Okay, so aid and advice of the, okay, so this aid on advice, what does it mean? It means that all the advice that is given by council of minister, okay, that should be considered by the president, and the most important thing is that it is binding in nature. That means whatever advice is given by council of minister to the president is bounding on the president, and president has to act in accordance to that. Okay, and also only option for the president is to send it back again for only for one, only once for reconsideration, and if the council of minister again sends the same advice, then it is completely binding on him. Okay, so you can say that president is basically just a nominal position, and the real advice, or the all the laws and everything is done by council of minister. And who heads the council of minister? It is headed by the prime minister. Okay, so this is something which you should be very clear about, that the council of minister is headed by the prime minister. So any decision, basically you can say that all the decisions are taken up by the Prime Minister. President has to just give the assent to the bill as to convert it into a law. Only option he has is that he can send it back once for reconsideration, but at the end he has to accept it. Okay, only after one he cannot, after practicing that power of reconsideration once, he cannot practice that power again, and that particular thing is going to be binding. Okay, and the president has to give assent to it. Okay, so you can say that all the decisions are taken up by the Prime Minister. The signature, or just for the assent, president is there. Okay, so this gives a complete idea. Otherwise, if you are reading only Article 53, so you wouldn't be able to understand the real role of President of India. Okay, so I hope this particular cycle is clear to you. Now, this particular aspect of sending back for reconsideration was not actually there. Okay, so it has been added through certain amendments of the constitution. And why it was added? Because the earlier amendments, so there were two amendments that were done. Okay, so I'll directly explain it to you. So there were two amendments under this article, that is Article 74. So there is one amendment that is known as 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, and there is another, that is 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, so there were two different kinds of amendments that were done. So under this 42nd Amendment Act, it was said that all the decisions that are taken up by the Council of Ministers would be completely binding. There was not even the prospect of reconsideration. So it was said that it would be completely binding, and in one go only the president has to give assent to whatever Council of Ministers is aiding and advising him. Okay, but this has of course triggered a debate, and many of the constitutional experts, they said that it is basically tarnishing the image, or the tarnishing the glory of the office of president, one of the highest office in India. Okay, so there should be, of course the Council of Ministers is democratically elected, but still, okay, you cannot just undermine completely the work of the President of India, the office of President of India. Okay, so there were many of the debates and controversies relating to this act. Then came, in order to balance this out, it was like an extreme one. So in order to balance this one out, there was another Constitutional Amendment Act that was called as 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. In article number 74, it stated that the decision, the particular whatever the aid advises there, it can be sent back for reconsideration, but only once. Okay, after sending it back for the reconsideration, if the same advice is again coming back to the president, then he or she shall accept it, and it would be binding on him or her. Okay, so this was something that happened through 42nd and 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, so I hope that this one is clear to you. Now let us start up with now let me just touch upon a bit about the relationship between the president and the prime minister. Okay, so there is a okay, so of course we all know that there is Council of Ministers, which is headed by Prime Minister. Now there is a channel through which both of them interact. Okay, and this channel is mediated by Prime Minister. That means you can say that this whole channel of communication between the President and the Council of Ministers is what of the Prime Minister. Okay, so channel of communication is Prime Minister. Okay, so what this thing is indicated in Article 78 of Indian Constitution. So what does Article 78 states? It states that it is the duty of the Prime Minister to keep the President updated and informed. Okay, so what is he going to do through this channel? He is going to update about the decisions that are taken by him or the council of minister, okay, update and informed. Okay, so it is the duty of the prime minister to keep the president update and informed even about the proposed legislations, like what are going to be the kind of legislation they are thinking about, okay, all of their plans and all. So that particular information or updation should be given to the president by the prime minister. Okay, so this is the duty which has been mentioned in article 78 of Indian constitution. Okay, so you can say that, in other words, you can say that there is a right to know of the president, and which is the duty, the surety of which would be done by the prime minister. Okay, so you can see that if I would like to conclude about the relationship, then we can say that the president is basically, let me give you the final conclusion about the president. Just a minute, let me clear this up. So if I conclude on the concluding lines, who is president? President is basically, in simple terms, he is the head of state. Okay, he is the head of state, whereas the prime minister is the head of government. Okay, so you have to make this distinction, head of state and head of government. Okay, first thing. Okay, and head of the union executive is president according to article 53. But in the words of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, okay, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said that the position of the president is going to be like that of the British crown. Okay, like as an example, what is the position of British crown? It is there as a ceremonial head. Okay, so British crown is ceremonial in nature, and the decisions are taken by the parliament, but they are just there to represent as the head of the state. Okay, so they cannot, they cannot rule the nation, but they can represent the nation. Okay, so president represents the nation, but he or she cannot rule the nation, whereas prime minister is the one who rules the nation. Okay, so also one thing, that in United States, what happens, there is the presidential form of government where the real head is whom, the president itself. He is not the ceremonial head, and he or she is the real head, and because they are democratically elected. Okay, so direct responsibility is with the president in United States because they have presidential form of government. Okay, now I hope that this much would be clear to you. So we still have time left, so I will cover up the another topic that is very important again, that is about the elections. Very important topic, you should write and mark this as important. Okay, so elections, whose election? Presidential election. Okay, so we are still on the president part. We are also going to talk about the vice president. Okay, so you have to understand this one very carefully, because I'm going to explain it to you. This is a bit, you can say, a bit complex process, but I will try to make it as easy as possible. So you have to be very concentrative while I'm talking about the elections, because we are going to talk about the way of election which is not common, like the direct election which we practice as our right to vote to elect the central government, but it is something which is very different. It is a kind of an indirect election. Okay, and this particular kind of election is going to be done through a different kind of system that is called as proportional representation. Just a minute. Yeah, okay, so it is going to be done through proportional representation. Okay, so what is this term? What is this term of proportional representation? Okay, so there is a method. This is an indirect method, and of course this is done by Election Commission of India. Okay, the elections are conducted under the supervision of Election Commission of India. Okay, and we all know that election is the lifeblood of democracy, and free and fair election at the regular interval is only the thing that could make the democracy real, functional, and vibrant, as well as successful. Okay, so if I consider the election in general terms, so there are two types of elections. One is first past the post system, FPPS, first past the post system. Okay, which is done in you can say um, Lok Sabha, state legislative assemblies, and legislative assemblies. Here, basically, there is a concept of majority, like normal Lok Sabha elections, where we go and vote. Okay, so that is based upon the majority, like whosoever is having the majority or Bahumat is going to be winning the election. Okay, and this is a very simple process, easily understood by the general common people. But and it is also the direct in sorry yeah so yeah direct form of election. But when we talk about this proportional representation, so it is a kind of a indirect election. Proportional representation, it is complex in nature. It is not based upon just majority, because if you look deeply at a majority, okay, so let's say that there were total 100 candidates, okay, and out of them, through voting, 51 voted for A party, and say the remaining 49 voted for B party. So in this case, of course, who is going to be the winner according to first past the post system? It is going to be A, by winning 51 votes. But if you look at this particular situation deeply, so we can say that 49% of people didn't want A to come at the power center. Okay, so we cannot say that it fairly is representing the opinion or the mandate of people, because although they are winning it by 1%, but still the 49% remaining, they didn't wanted A to be a part of power center. So this is a particular drawback, but still we consider it in electing of the Lok Sabha elections, or state legislative assembly or legislative assembly elections. Why so? Because they are direct in nature, and you have to make sure that first of all it is very easy to be understood by general people. Okay, you, me, when we were like, even the kids could understand this. Okay, anybody could understand this. Normal people, like we know that there is high levels of illiteracy in India, so it is more easier. I'm not saying that only illiterate people couldn't understand. Even literate people couldn't understand it, because of complex nature of PR that we are going to discuss currently. But we have to we from the perspective of UPSC, we should understand this, and we should know that how this one is more fair, and so to say more just, you can say that it is more better as compared to FPPS. Also FPPS is also fair in a way, but still we can say that it is not properly representing the mandate of people. Okay, so first of all, it is easier to understand. Secondly, in such a vast country, there are like, you can say that it is of course it is the one of the most populous countries in the world. Okay, so conducting the election through proportional representation is going to be very difficult. It is impossible to conduct elections for such a large population. Why? We are going to When we are going to understand proportional representation, you would be able to make it out that it is a very complex nature, as well as a very time consuming, as well as an expensive kind of method. Okay, it is going to take many rounds in order to complete it, whereas this is fairly simpler as compared to PR. FPPS is fairly simpler, and it is easier to conduct, so that's why we go up with this method only. Okay, so this is the difference between FPPS and PR. Now let me start up with the indirect elections of president as well as vice president. Also is happening through the same way. This is known as, in the proportional representation, we have a specialized method that is known as proportional representation. Okay, by means of single transferable vote system. Single transferable, just write down as I speak because my writing is not coming very good here. Single transferable vote system. Okay, so this is a system that is being practiced for choosing the president as well as vice president. Okay, so how does this work? So this is a form of an indirect election. So we are having this for president, for vice president, as well as for the council of state or Rajya Sabha. Okay, so these three are the ones which are following this particular mechanism of okay, so what does this states? So this particular way or method of election, in this you need a minimum quota, and you can, in other words, for your understanding, you can understand it as a threshold. Okay, so there is a particular limit or threshold that needs to be completed in order to move forward more, move more forward towards the particular goal of getting elected. So as I said that it is not going to be in one round, but there are going to be many rounds, and there is going to be elimination at each and every round, and there would be a kind of a refinement through the process. Okay, so there is this minimum quota that needs to be attained by a particular candidate in order to qualify through rounds and finally being elected. So this minimum quota is calculated through the votes casted formula I'm telling. Okay, so votes casted divided by the vacancy plus 1 in the denominator and plus 1 as a whole. So this is a formula for minimum quota, that is the votes casted divided by the vacancy that was there plus 1 and plus 1. Okay, so this is how minimum quota is to be calculated. Okay, so how does the system work? Now let's have a look at that. How does this work? So by the proportional representation through the means of single transferable vote system. Now please be very careful. Now I'm going to start explaining this. Now I'm just considering an example. Let's say A, B, C and D were the 4 candidates who were standing up for the elected for the post. Okay, so I'll just create a kind of a table to make you all understand it better. So there are 4 presidential candidates. Okay, now the number of votes, like there is a first round of counting. Okay, and the vote was as follows: 2 1 4 3. Okay, now what has to be done is that this is the order of preference. Okay, now if say I have been given this chart and I've been asked to write my order of preference, so I preferred B over A. Okay, then D I have given the 3rd position and C I have given 4th position. That means the first preference is B, then I have second preference as A, third as D and 4th as C. So this was my order of preference and I marked it. Now after taking up this particular order of preference and counting the number of votes, the final number of votes that we got was as follows. Like A has got 22 votes in total, B has got 13 votes in total, C has got, let's say, 17 votes in total, and D has got, say, 18 votes in total. This is just an example, okay, just in order to explain you. So in the first round this was the result. Okay, now as you guys can see here, the minimum number of votes is given to whom? Who got the minimum number of votes? That was B. Okay, so B is going to be eliminated in this round, and the vote of B, because 13 people still preferred B as the first preference, then whomsoever they have considered the second preference, this vote is going to be get added to that person's vote. Like if you see my one, okay, mine one, so I gave first preference to B, but B is out of the game in the first round itself, so my second preference was A. Okay, so this vote is not going to be discounted completely, rather the vote is going to be distributed. My, like if I consider my individual vote, so this particular individual, my vote would be added to the vote of A, who was my second preference. So in this manner A is going to now become 23, and in the similar manner all the members who were there, their votes are going to be added accordingly who was their preference, and that is going to be added further. Okay, so this vote is not going to be completely discarded, rather the second preference would be given the vote. Okay, the particular vote count would be given to them. Okay, now this particular thing is going to continue on, okay, till all the remaining are eliminated, and there is it is done till the minimum quota is achieved. There is a minimum quota. If it is achieved by a particular candidate, then this particular rounding, this elimination is going to stop there, and whosoever has been able to secure the minimum quota would be considered as winning that election. Okay, so this was how the, you can say, the proportional representation through single transferable vote system works. I hope it was very clear. If it isn't, so I would recommend you guys to watch this video again, start from that part where I have started explaining it, because it is completely normal, because I myself, when I studied this, it took me 2-3 times to understood it well. Okay, so it is completely okay. You can just revisit this video anytime whenever you feel like it, and you can understand this particular system. But I said that this particular system is more like better, but as you know that the it is more easier to conduct it in the presidential election rather than the direct election where the Indian population is engaged. Okay, so this was how it is done. Okay, now this presidential election is also based on the concept. This is another concept that I would like to discuss in this video itself, so that we could be able to understand all the relating points. Okay, so there is a concept known as the value of vote. Value of vote. So all the votes that are casted by the members of legislative assembly or parliament, they do not have the same value of vote. Okay, like in our particular election, the direct election, every vote has a same value, but whereas in the form of indirect election, where the proportional representation, presidential election to be very precise, there is a value of vote. All the votes are not similar in value. Some might be having higher value, some might be having lower value. How the value of vote is determined? It is determined based upon the population of the representative, from which state the representative is representing. Like I'll take very two extreme examples, that is Uttar Pradesh and a state of northeast, say Mizoram. When I compare the both, so Uttar Pradesh is a very large state with a high levels of population, whereas Mizoram is going to be having very low levels of population. Okay, so the value of vote of a person who is representing Uttar Pradesh, it is backed by a large number of population. Okay, so we can say that the opinion of this particular person is going to represent the opinion of a larger population as compared to the one in the Mizoram, who is going to represent a comparatively smaller population. So we can say that the value of vote of the representative from Uttar Pradesh is going to be higher as compared to the value of vote of a person from Mizoram. Okay, so this is the value of vote. Okay, now there is a general formula for calculating the value of vote. I'm just writing in the short form VOV. Value of vote of an MLA. I'm first going to discuss about MLA, then we are going to discuss about MP also. So MLA, here it is, in the case of MLA, it is the legislative assembly, right? So it is going to be total population of the state divided by total elected members, total elected members of where? Of the state legislative assembly. Total elected members of the state legislative assembly. Here you have to add into 1 upon 1000. Space is not there, but I'm telling you what to write. Okay, so total population of state divided by total elected members of state legislative assembly into 1 divided by 1000. So this is the formula for calculating the value of vote for an MLA. Now let us look at the value of vote for an MP. What is the value of vote for an MP? Okay, so it is going to be sum total of sorry of value of votes, sum total of value of votes of all MLA के sum total कर दो value of votes का, ठीक है? Okay, so here you have to include all the 28 states and the 3 UTs as well. 3 UTs which are going to be included are going to be Delhi, not all UTs, okay, so only Delhi, Puducherry and your Jammu and Kashmir are included. Okay, these are the 3 UTs that are included. Okay, so their value of vote, okay, divided by the total elected MPs who are there. Total elected MPs who are there. Okay, so this is the value of vote for calculating the value of vote of an MP. So I hope this is clear to you all. If it is, so we have discussed many important things about the president. We have discussed about the election and the basic role of president. Now in the next video I'm going to talk about a very important process that is known as impeachment. So you have to stay tuned for my another video, and it is going to be released very soon. I'm not going to take too much time because we are going to be in continuation. So impeachment and many more things is going to be discussed in the next video. So for this video I'll stop here, and I hope you understood it till here. All of this is very important. Elections are very important. Everything is important. Just keep a track, create proper notes. Whatever I'm speaking in an auditory manner, you have to even note that down. I'm not noting everything here in the slide because it is difficult for me to do that with a mouse. Okay, I might purchase a pen, but I don't know about it, but currently I'm just having this. So I hope you understand this, and just keep on making your notes. Okay, so see you in the next video. Stay tuned for more important videos. You have to stay tuned so that there is a particular series of topics that are created and you will be having proper notes. Stay tuned, stay safe, stay healthy. Bye.